Most people over 60 are told the same thing. Eat a balanced diet and you will get all the vitamins your body needs. It sounds sensible. It sounds complete. But here is what nobody tells you. After 60, eating plenty of a vitamin and actually absorbing it are two completely different things. There is one vitamin your body slowly stops absorbing after 60, no matter how much of it you eat. It is vitamin B12, and studies suggest as many as 1 in 6 older adults may be running low, most of them with no idea at all. Today I'm going to give you 5 ways to get B12 into a body that has stopped absorbing it from food, and I will explain the one thing about testing that a 12-minute appointment almost never covers. The number one item on this list is something almost nobody talks about, and it is the only way to know for certain where you stand. Stay with me until the end, because that one can change how clear and steady you feel for the next 10 years. Think about your last checkup. You had about 12 minutes. Your doctor checked your blood pressure, glanced at your pills, and moved on. A standard blood panel does not usually include B12 unless you ask for it by name. So a slow, quiet deficiency can build for years, while every routine test comes back fine. Nobody has the time to connect your tiredness, your tingling feet, or your foggy afternoons to a single vitamin. I am not here to sell you a supplement or a brand. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover. In fact, before you buy anything, the smartest first step is a simple blood test, and I will show you how to ask for it. Everything else on this list is ordinary food and an inexpensive tablet from any chemist, because low B12 is not just feeling tired. Left long enough, it damages the nerves in your feet and your balance, and it can look exactly like memory loss or even dementia. That means unsteady steps, falls, and confusion, the very things that can quietly take your independence. So before we start, tell me 2 things in the comments: your age and whether your B12 has ever actually been tested. Here is the one idea that unlocks all 5 fixes. The B12 in food comes locked tightly to the protein you eat it in. To free it, your stomach needs a strong splash of acid, and after 60, that acid quietly fades. Less acid means the B12 stays locked to the food and passes straight through you. Picture the B12 in your dinner as a letter sealed inside an envelope. Stomach acid is the letter opener that slits it open so your body can read it. After 60, the letter opener goes blunt, and many envelopes pass through unopened. This is why you can eat liver and eggs every single day and still fall short. The vitamin is right there on your plate, but it never gets out of the envelope. Please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button so more seniors can find it. It is the only thing I will ask of you until the very end. The 5th way is the food itself, the richest natural sources of B12. That means beef liver, clams, sardines, salmon, eggs, and dairy. These foods carry more B12 than almost anything else, so they are still your foundation. But remember the envelope. In these foods, the vitamin is bound to protein, so a low-acid stomach only manages to open some of it. Think of it as filling a slightly leaky bucket. You still want to keep pouring in, even though some runs out. More going in the top means more reaches the bottom. The richest source of all is beef liver, followed by shellfish like clams. Nutrition tables have ranked these at the very top for as long as we have measured. So here is how to use it. Aim for a B12-rich food at most meals, such as 2 eggs at breakfast, a tin of sardines or salmon at lunch, and a small portion of liver about once a week. A single serving of liver alone can hold many days' worth of the vitamin. Spread these foods across the day rather than all at once, because your gut can only open so much in one sitting. Make it a daily habit and not an occasional one, because your body stores only a limited amount and needs topping up. The mistake people make is relying on red meat alone, when eggs, fish, and dairy are gentler and just as useful. If chewing meat is hard, tinned fish, eggs, and yogurt give you the same B12 with soft textures. If you follow a plant-based diet, almost none of these apply to you. So fortified foods and a supplement become essential, and we will reach both. If you have been told to limit organ meats for gout or cholesterol, keep the liver small and occasional, and ask your doctor. And introduce liver gently, because a little truly goes a very long way. Pair these foods with the acid your stomach still has by eating them at your largest, most relaxed meal. A calm, unhurried meal lets what acid you have do its work. Rushing a meal standing up gives the vitamin no real chance. And keep the number one fix in mind as we go, the test, because without it, every step is still a guess. But food alone fights uphill against a low-acid stomach. You can do everything right on your plate and still quietly come up short. Our next source hands your body B12 that is already out of the envelope, so your stomach barely has to work at all. The fourth way is fortified food. That means breakfast cereals, plant milks, and nutritional yeast with B12 added into them. Here is why fortified food can beat a steak. The B12 added to these foods is not locked to any protein. It is the free crystalline form, already out of the envelope, so a weak stomach can absorb it easily. This is exactly why health authorities quietly advise older adults to get their B12 from fortified foods or supplements, not from meat alone. Think of it as pre-opened mail dropped straight into your hand. The official dietary guidelines for older adults actually recommend this free form as the main source after 50. That advice has stood firm for over 20 years, so here is how to use it. Read the label and choose a cereal or plant milk that lists B12, also written as cyanocobalamin. Aim for one fortified food a day, such as a bowl of fortified cereal or a glass of fortified soy milk. Look for one that gives at least the full daily amount, often shown as 100%. The mistake people make is buying sugary cereals just for the fortification, so pick a low sugar, whole grain one and check the fiber too. Spread fortified foods through the day rather than one huge dose, because your body absorbs small amounts far better. Fortified cereal softened in milk is easy on teeth and swallowing. If you have diabetes, choose a low-sugar fortified option and count the carbohydrate as usual. Fortified nutritional yeast is a savory choice you can sprinkle on almost anything if cereal is not for you. And always check the label, because not every brand is actually fortified. Pair your fortified cereal with the dairy from the last step. Fortified cereal in real milk stacks the free form on top of the food form in a single bowl. 2 kinds of B12, 1 breakfast. But even free B12 in food can be blocked by something sitting in your own medicine cabinet. You could be eating the perfect breakfast and quietly losing it to a pill. Our next fix is about clearing the obstacles you did not even know were there. The third way is to clear the hidden blockers that quietly strip your B12. The 3 biggest are acid-reducing pills, the diabetes drug metformin, and heavy alcohol. Here is how they work against you. Acid-reducing pills, the ones for heartburn and reflux, lower the very acid you need to free B12, so they deepen the exact problem of aging. Metformin quietly interferes with how your gut takes B12 in, and too much alcohol irritates the stomach lining that makes your acid. Picture 3 slow leaks in the same bucket, each one small, but together they empty it. This is well documented. Long-term users of acid-reducing pills and metformin are known to run lower on B12, which is why careful doctors keep an eye on it. So here is how to use this safely. Never stop a prescribed medicine on your own, because that can be dangerous. Instead, ask your doctor 2 questions. Do I still need this acid pill, and should we check my B12? If you take metformin, ask for a B12 test at least once a year, and keep alcohol modest, because that alone helps protect your stomach lining. The mistake people make is quietly stopping their own pills, which is never the answer. If you take an acid-reducing pill for a real reason, like a diagnosed ulcer, you keep taking it and simply add B12 in a form that does not need stomach acid, which is coming next. If you are on metformin, this is one of the clearest reasons of all to get tested. And never change a prescription without the doctor who wrote it. If lowering an acid pill is ever on the table, only your doctor should do it, and only slowly. Remember, the champion is still coming, the one fix that finally tells you whether any of this is working. Everything so far has been building toward it. Pair this step with a written list. Take your actual pill bottles, or a written list of them, to your next appointment and ask about each one. A doctor can only help with the blockers they can actually see, but clearing the blockers still leaves the aging stomach itself. Even with every blocker gone, a 60-year-old stomach still opens fewer envelopes than a 30-year-old one. Our next fix skips the stomach almost entirely with a single cheap tablet. The second way is a daily high-dose B12 tablet. Not a tiny dose, but a large one. On purpose. Here is the clever part. When you take a large amount of B12 at once, a small, fixed share of it slips across your gut wall on its own, with no acid and no envelope opener required. It is a slow, steady seep that simply does not need your stomach to cooperate. Think of it as a slow drip through the wall instead of a locked door. Give the wall enough to work with, and a reliable trickle always gets through. This is well-established science. High-dose oral B12 has been shown to raise levels even in people who cannot absorb it the normal way. So here is how to use it. Take a B12 tablet of 500 to 1,000 micrograms once a day, as cyanocobalamin or methylcobalamin. That is hundreds of times the daily need on purpose, because only a small share crosses without acid. Take it on an empty stomach if you can, and away from any acid-reducing pill. B12 is water-soluble, so any true excess is simply passed in your urine, which is why these large doses are considered very safe. The mistake people make is buying a tiny dose that assumes a young, acidic stomach. These tablets are small, and a dissolvable or liquid version is easy if swallowing pills is hard. B12 is remarkably safe, but if you have a diagnosed blood or kidney condition, run any new supplement past your doctor first. If you are already having symptoms like numbness or balance trouble, do not simply self-treat, because that needs a proper look, and choose a plain B12 rather than an expensive combination you do not need. Pair your tablet with a daily habit you never miss, like your morning tea. Anchoring it to something automatic is how a supplement actually gets taken. A tablet left in the cupboard does nothing at all, but a tablet still leaves one question unanswered, and it is the most important one of all. Are you actually low, and is what you are doing actually working? That is the number one fix, and it is the only one that gives you a real answer. The number one way is to stop guessing and get your B12 tested. Then take the form that skips your stomach entirely. Knowing your real number is the single most powerful thing on this whole list. Here is why it sits at the very top. Every other fix is you hoping something is working, but only a blood test tells you the truth. And there is a catch that even the test can hide. The standard B12 blood test has a wide normal range, and you can sit at the low end, technically normal, while your nerves are already starving. That is why a smart request is not just a B12 level, but a more sensitive marker called MMA, or methylmalonic acid, which rises early when B12 is truly low. Think of the basic test as a fuel gauge that only reads empty when the tank is bone dry. The MMA test is the warning light that comes on far sooner. One tells you when you already have a problem, the other tells you before you do. Leading laboratories and geriatric guidelines increasingly recommend this more sensitive testing in older adults. It catches the quiet, early shortfall that a basic level misses. And that is exactly the shortfall that steals your balance and your memory. So here's how to use it, and it is the fullest plan on this list. At your next appointment, ask for two things by name: a B12 level and an MMA test, if your level comes back low or borderline. If your number is under about 300 or your MMA is high, that is your answer, and you treat it seriously. For most people, the treatment is simple: a daily 1,000 microgram tablet held under the tongue to dissolve, which lets it absorb straight through the lining of your mouth and skip the stomach altogether. If you truly cannot absorb it from an autoimmune cause called pernicious anemia, your doctor can give B12 by injection instead, which bypasses your gut completely. Then you retest in about 3 months to prove that it is working. Keep taking it every single day, not only when you remember, because the fix holds only while the B12 keeps arriving. And there is no need to fear taking too much, because your body simply passes any extra it does not use. If pills are a struggle, the under-the-tongue drops do the very same job. The mistake almost everyone makes is treating in the dark, never testing, and never knowing whether the problem is truly fixed. The under-the-tongue form is ideal if swallowing is hard or your stomach is the problem, because it barely uses your gut at all. If you already have numbness, tingling, or balance trouble, treat that as a reason to see your doctor soon, not later, because nerve damage caught early can often be reversed, while late damage may not. If you take metformin or a daily acid pill, this is the exact situation that testing was made for. If you are vegetarian or vegan, assume you need this route, because plant foods give you almost no B12 at all. Bring your pill list, ask for the test by name, and write the number down. And never accept "just feel fine" as an answer when a simple test exists. Pair your test result with a calendar. Write your B12 number and the date on a card, and set a reminder to retest in 3 months. A number you can see is a number you can actually act on. Guesswork is what let this hide for years. So here is the payoff I promised you at the very start. You can eat all the liver and eggs in the world, but the only way to know your body is truly getting B12 is to measure it and treat it in a form that skips your failing stomach. This was never about eating more. It was about getting one hidden vitamin past a locked door and finally knowing that it did. Consider a typical case of the kind documented in the geriatric literature. A 73-year-old man, retired, who had grown tired, forgetful, and unsteady on his feet over about a year. His family had quietly begun to fear the start of dementia. His routine blood tests had all come back normal because not one of them had ever measured B12. At last, his doctor ran a B12 level and the more sensitive MMA test, and both pointed to a clear deficiency. He had taken an acid-reducing pill for years, and no one had ever connected it to this. Nothing else about his diagnosis or his other medicines was changed. He began a daily 1,000 microgram tablet under his tongue, and his doctor reviewed whether he still needed the acid pill. And he retested 3 months later to be sure it was working. Within 2 months, his energy had returned and the fog had begun to lift. Within 6 months, his balance was steadier and the talk of dementia had quietly stopped. His numbness improved, though his doctor warned that catching it even earlier would have helped more. And the frightening decline everyone had blamed on old age turned out to be a single missing vitamin. So here is exactly what to do, and there are only 5 steps. Start with the test, because everything else works better once you know your number. Step 1. At your next appointment, ask by name for a B12 blood test and an MMA test if your level is low or borderline. It is one simple request that most panels leave out. Step 2. Every day, take a B12 tablet of 500 to 1,000 micrograms held under your tongue to dissolve. Anchor it to your morning tea so you never once forget. Step 3. Eat a B12-rich food at 2 meals a day, such as 2 eggs at breakfast and a tin of sardines or salmon at lunch. Step 4. Add 1 fortified food daily, like a bowl of low-sugar fortified cereal, and check the label for the word cyanocobalamin. Step 5. If you take metformin or a daily acid pill, ask for a B12 check at least once a year, and never stop either drug on your own. Think of someone in your life who has been getting quietly more tired, more forgetful, or more unsteady over the past year. Everyone may be blaming their age, or even whispering about dementia, but it may be one hidden, treatable vitamin, and a single blood test could change everything. Tell me in the comments whether your B12 has ever been tested and what you found. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. And if you want the science that a 12-minute appointment never has room for, subscribe to this channel. That is the entire reason it exists. This video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Bennett Thorne. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.